All right, we are here. Hello, everybody. Thank you for coming to LYF Matters Podcast. I am your host, Kiana Monroe, and we are here with a very, very, very special guest. My friend, my brother from another mother, my poo bear, my giant teddy bear, Mr. Jeff. How are you today?
I am blessed. How about yourself?
I'm doing good. You're in Miami, correct?
All day, you already know.
All right. So we are going to be talking about dating in reality versus the dating game that you see, right? So before we do all of that, right, tell a little bit of our audience about you.
Like she said, my name is Dr. Jeff Rocker, also known as the celebrity therapist here across of course, in Miami and all across the country, because I deal with a lot of celebrities, athletes, entertainers, artists, and anybody who's just trying to get service, within the industry. So I deal with a lot of individuals, couples, and families. So anybody who needs help, I'm your guy.
Awesome, 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 awesome. Yeah, you're doing like some really great work, and yeah, I think it's really great that we're out here changing lives, right? Mental
Got
health. Mental health is extremely important. And speaking on mental health, right? It's,
you.
you and I, we both talk about the importance of therapy before dating, right? And even the therapy, like while you're in your dating process, and even after, once you like get into the whole marital journey, right? In today's society, when it comes to dating,
Yes.
what are the common themes that you see that are kind of red flags to you, right? What are the things that you see that are like, you know what, that's not normal, that's not accurate, that's not real life.
You know, I would say many people are very smart. Let me just throw that out there. And they see the red flags, but they tend to overlook them because they feel like they're in love and the person is going to change, or they feel like they could be the person to change that person. That's not realistic. At the end of the day, if someone wants to change, they have to do it on their own. Not to say they can't change for you, but if you're going into a relationship thinking that you're going to be the one to change them, that is always strike number one right there. And I think that many people go through that, particularly in the initial stages of dating.
Right, I agree. A lot of things that you see on television, everyone has like this long list of
Oh yeah.
they want and what they require, and then when the camera is off, right, and you are in real life, you actually have to have real conversations with the person that you're dating. You have to be intentional when you're in a relationship, intentional when you're out seeking a relationship,
Mhm.
right? And some of the common mistakes are, like I said, having this list of requirements of people, and you are not the things that you are requiring. It's really important to become everything it is that you want from someone else. Like some of the common things that I see are, a person has to make a certain amount of money, right? You have to have this type of status. You have to be living this certain type of way. And it's the whole thing, but that's not what's really, really important. What are the qualities that are really important when it comes to dating?
You know, I don't want to give a cookie cutter answer because, to be honest with you, it varies on the person, right? But I
Mhm.
would say that although we all have a long list for the perfect guy or the perfect woman, there's only you in our long list that you have. There's typically only 3 or 4 things that I always call you must have within a relationship to make it work.
Mhm.
And the problem is have a hard time identifying what are those 3 4 needs within a marriage. And you could say you want the guy who makes the most money, or he is tall, dark skinned, whatever the case may be, but you have to ask yourself, is that a need in a relationship or is that a want? And most of the time people have a whole bunch of wants but not being able to identify what the need is in a relationship, and that's important because there are certain things that you can't overlook. Whether it be infidelity, some people need healthy communication, or these things you have to ask yourself: can I live without if he doesn't have it, or do I need that? And that's the question that most people need to answer to be able to move forward within a relationship.
Yeah, I think people need to establish what their boundaries are,
Mhm.
right? I think they need to establish and be able to identify what their non-negotiables are, right? What they are willing to accept, right? And
Mm.
what they are unwilling to move forward with, because everyone has a certain level of patience. And then it's just like, that's it for me. I know I said I could do, one thing, but I have some non-negotiables. These are some things that I'm unable to accept. These are some things that I'm unable to tolerate, and I'm just going to go ahead and release you with love so that you can be with somebody else that might be a better fit and better, suitor for you, versus being selfish and holding on to you for selfish needs and my own personal, statistical needs versus what's really, really important. So I'm actually going to switch it just a little bit
Okay.
and say, when watching, and we both work with celebrities, work with athletes, have worked in the television life and whatnot. There are a lot of common things that you see in the media, right? And that you see even with, the athletes sometimes that we work with and whatnot, that it's important that they get therapy
Yeah.
while they're doing the work that it is that they're doing, because a lot of times their relationships play out in front of everybody else. So how important do you think it is for people who are in the entertainment field to get therapy? Because you work with a lot of people as well.
When I tell you it's very important, it is very, very important. As a matter of fact, it's a term I like to call celebrity syndrome. You know, where
Let's
so celebrity syndrome is the unrealistic expectation of high-ranking individuals who consistently perform at a high level despite going through stressful situations in their life. So the media, their audience, their fan base, despite what a celebrity may be going through, always expect them to perform. And because of this, they don't feel like they need to seek help. They don't feel like they are allowed to seek help or cry or take a step away from the game or step away from the, performing. Like Naomi Saki, kudos to her. She decided to step away from the game. Initially, she got a lot of backlash, but people start to realize, you know what? You can't expect her to perform at a high level all the time because that's not realistic.
mm-hmm,
And that's for anybody, especially for
mm-hmm.
celebrities. So now celebrities now more than ever are taking, you know what? If I'm not feeling right, if I'm going through a lot of stuff, let me take a step away from everything just to take care of my mental health. And I think now, as an industry, we're heading in the right direction.
I agree. I think me working with a couple of NBA players and football players, and then even the assistant coach, it's a lot of pressure to show up, right, and
Or
perform and show up and be what everybody else expects you to be,
correct.
right? And then when you're off the field, when you turn the cameras off, you are by yourself. It's really important that you establish your mental health goals, because you are surrounded by a lot of people. So understanding that your support system, who you have in your corner, who you
Mm,
have supporting you, who is feeding into you as you are showing up for everybody else. And a lot of times, some of the things that I've spoken to people about are, I have a lot of pressure to go out and do the best and be the best, because my performance and my ability to, show up affects my family, affects my friends, affects my team, right? Because I'm paying other people's bills. I'm the provider for all of these other people. And that's a lot of weight to carry. That's a lot of weight to carry when you have other people depending on your ability to consistently show up and succeed so that you can bring a check in for them. But when you're not taking care of yourself,
right.
how are you going to do that?
And that's why we talked about setting boundaries because that's important. Because there's a lot of people, particularly the athletes, entertainers, where they have a lot of family members depending on them. And
Mhm.
early in the stage, when they start to reach success, that's the time to really set those boundaries. Like, I understand that financially you may not be stable, but I am my own person. So I can't be
Mhm.
taking care of the whole family and then some and thinking I'm gonna be happy with my own life. That's like you said, that's a lot of weight on your shoulders and it's not sustainable. Eventually you're gonna crack. And at that point, of course, for most celebrities, sometimes they don't even realize what the problem may be until it's too late. So I advise everybody not just celebrities, but everyone, because I believe everyone's a celebrity in their own social circle. So you don't have to be. It could be you could be the oldest child, or you could be a CEO of your business. Anybody that has a high importance within the social circle, please take care of your mental health. It's not easy doing what you're doing on a regular basis.
It's not. And some of the things that I notice is the relationships when dating,
Mm.
right? You have tons of people giving their opinion, tons of people passing judgments on you, right? Tons of people, nitpicking about who you're dating, who you're seeing, what you're wearing, your appearance, how you look, your body image when it comes to women, even when it comes to men, right? And it's constant condemnation, it's constant judgment. And it's so important that if the entertainment life, even if whether it's sports, whether it's, the artistic world, singing, rapping, whatever it may be, film, acting, um, it's really important. If you're already in there, it's important to find you a therapist if you don't have one.
Yes.
But on the journey of becoming what it is that you want to be with your career in the entertainment field, just as important as it is to book a deal or like get the role or get the agent or get the PR or get whatever it is, it's important to have a therapist as you are on the, because you're going to get rejection. It's a lot of negative feedback that you get, right? And
Mm.
that can be really heavy and play a part. There are your relationships sometimes play out in front of everybody to see, and not a lot of people can handle that. Suicide is really kind of at an all-time high, and it's not just affecting, your day-to-day people, it's affecting even more people in the entertainment world,
Yeah.
right? And how they're able to process that feedback, how they're able to process that energy coming from, your fans, right? And the rest of the media. That's rough.
And
That's really rough.
it's unfortunate because it's happening more than people think it is. When you have people like Michael Jackson, Whitney Houston, Robin Williams, Heath Ledger, outside looking in, when you see these individuals, you're looking at them as, that they have everything going for themselves. They have a career, success, they have the money, they have everything that anyone could want. But personally, they
Hmm.
were hurting. Personally, they were struggling. And unfortunately, they're not here with us today because they didn't know how to deal with those issues by themselves. And they shouldn't have to. But unfortunately, they didn't reach out before the life ended. So that's one. So when I say that it's important for all celebrities or athletes and anybody in the public eye to get help, it's important because if not taken care of, they can lead to some serious issues, and ultimately, sometimes for some people, death as well.
Yeah. I always say it's really hard to feel alone in a crowded room.
Mm,
And the support system that you create for yourself
yes.
is imperative for your mental health and your emotional stability. Me doing the work that I do, a lot of times, whether I'm being interviewed for television or being interviewed for whatever it is, right? There
Mm,
are times, even myself, right? I'm concerned about how I might be received, or who am I going to talk to about something that's very significant or very particular and specific about my own personal life, right?
mm,
Me, when it's time to be, interviewed or talked to about human trafficking or my experience with my family and how did I get to, become who it is that I am today in my journey. It's a heavy conversation, and sometimes, depending on the day, it's a hard conversation. And there are times that once it's over, I feel like I need to, fall apart. But if I haven't built my circle, a strong support system, I'm going to unravel, and not in a good way. And you can have a cry, you can have those cries for help. But if you don't have the right people around to be able to listen to you and hear you, and be that support and be that friend and be that soundboard that you may need at the time, and hold you in a safe space, then what do you do? Sometimes you may not have an opportunity to reach out to your therapist
Mm-hmm.
because you didn't make your appointment, or you don't have an appointment, and stuff hits you like boom, right, like right now, like I need someone right now, right? Make sure you have at least, I think it's important to have at least 2 to 3 people that you can reach out to and say, I need to talk right now. I'm not okay. And be okay with saying, I'm not okay. Right. I
Or
have something heavy on me.
or at least have at the very minimum healthy coping skills, right? And healthy outlets. Because like you said, sometimes you just can't reach everyone in your social circle, but you could definitely use those outlets that you have learned, whether through therapy or things that you learn on your own, whether it be, my favorites like taking long showers or deep breathing or journaling. There's a number of things working now, yoga, the list goes on, but you just got to find what works for you and use it in the moment too when you're going through it.
Yeah, I
Hmm.
agree. Once you fall apart, sometimes it's really hard to pick up those pieces if you don't know how,
Yeah.
right? So really taking the time to seek out, a mental health counselor and a mental health therapist, um, is important. And unfortunately, what you can't control and you can't change your audience, right? You can't necessarily control what social media is going to do and what they're going to say about your personal life, about your whatever it is that you're doing for work, whether that be an athlete or actress or singer or rapper or whatever, right? Or your entourage, things that happen in your personal life, your family, everybody wants to have an opinion about, right?
Doesn't
And
stop us from trying.
relationships tend to play out all the time on television,
Okay.
good, bad, or indifferent, right? And then what do you do? A lot of times being able to self-regulate and control your emotions versus to react and have a complete meltdown or breakdown, on your live is not necessarily the way to go, right?
Hmm.
Being able to handle rejection, being able to handle a defeat. You have a lot of athletes who sometimes don't always know how to process losing a game, right? And what they do is they take that energy back home to their family, to their significant others, right, and to their friends, and it's not always a good reaction. It's very negative, and not being able to exercise a healthy response or be able to self-regulate.
I mean, especially when your relationship with those same people is based on your performance. So if you're
Mm,
not winning games, if you're not making money, do you think you
mm,
still have those relationships? Probably not. And
yeah,
then for that individual, they realize that. So because they want to keep those relationships, they work so hard to work at the highest level and win games, score that big contract. But at the end of the day, if that's what your relationship is based on, it's not very healthy at all.
it's not. It's not. And a lot of people that I've worked with, I really have to remind them that what it is that you value,
Yeah.
you know, has to be more important than a score
Yeah.
that you see. Do you
Hmm.
understand what I'm saying? You have more value, you have more purpose. This is something that you do, right? This is something that you're good at. This is something that you're passionate about. But this does not define who you are. A score on the board does not define your worth. It doesn't define, how you move. It doesn't define your purpose because that can change. You can always do something else, right? And to really take a look at the other things that you value and consistently pouring into things that are bigger than yourself. How are you giving back? Right? How are you giving to yourself outside of work? Because even though it's a game, it's still work for you. You know, what do you do to self-soothe? What does your family mean to you? What are you giving to yourself? And creating things outside of work that make you feel whole, that
Yeah.
make you feel happy, how you center yourself, right? And then also think outside of the game. What is it that you want to do when this is over, right? So there's not so much pressure of I'm a failure if something happens and I get cut this season,
Right.
or if I get hurt, my career will be over, right? I don't want, and then they completely unravel and fall apart because they didn't take the time to invest in their complete self and create and understand that the identity that they have created for themselves is much bigger
Well, remember,
than.
they
Mhm.
wasn't allowed to do so, right? Because they've been playing Pop Warner all the way from, we're in a 6, 7, all the way to not in the NFL. So, it becomes an issue because now when you stop playing football or any sport that you may have, when you've been doing it for 10, 15, 20 years of your life, maybe longer than that, of
Yeah,
course, that becomes your identity.
yeah,
That's the way you see yourself, and that's how your family sees you. That's how your friends see you, and everybody else. So when you, to some degree, lose that identity or change that identity, then you start questioning yourself. Who are you? And I
yeah,
think that's what starts to unravel within the public eye when people are trying to figure out who they need to become to move forward with their life.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. How do you work with the people that you work with when that becomes an issue for them? Have you run into any of your clients that have become an issue with
Oh,
their identity?
oh, quite a few of them. I guess you start by looking towards their passion because they always say I love football or whatever sport they. I love that sport, but that may be true. But there's so much more that they love in their life that they haven't really expanded on because no one didn't care about it, or they're not allowed to express themselves. So whether it be family, other interests that may lie with them before football or during football, that is totally fine. But just helping them find themselves, finding their way, explore those opportunities that they have at their disposal is the best way to approach them.
Yeah, I agree. I always say, um, legacy is very important, right? But what are the values that you want to leave behind? That's what I like to tell my clients. Yes, you have legacy. Yes, everyone will know, so and so was my dad or so and so was my mom, and they did, all of these things. But what are the other values, right? What are the other characteristics that should be just as important that you leave behind in the world? Because you can leave your money to your kids or your grandkids and they could squander that. Like you have no, absolutely, you never know, right? But the other values, right? The other characteristics, you know, the other skills that you value and you're pouring into everyone else around you is really, really important, you know. For example, I like to think that Shaq has a lot of values,
Yeah.
not just, the fact that he played basketball, right? But he is a family man, that he's an entrepreneur, right? There are so many different values that people need to have other than their career, because then it gives you a very healthy balance.
Yeah.
It gives
And
you a healthy balance.
even with Shaq, he was doing that while he was playing basketball. He didn't
Exactly.
wait until when he retired to do all those things. So
Exactly.
for him, when he did retire, it was a smooth transition for him to start enjoying his life in all aspects, whether it be being a cop or honorary cop, doing movies and so forth, philanthropic work. He did a little bit of everything. So he's definitely enjoying his life to the fullest right now.
Right. And then when you have children, right?
Mhm.
And they're paying attention to you. They're paying attention to not only you being successful, but how you became successful. And then you teach them that their mental health is just as important as their dreams, and their level of success. Having that healthy balance, which is really, really good. So when it comes to relationship being played out on television, what is something that you notice? I don't know if you've ever had a client whose relationship kind of fell apart in front of everybody's eyes.
Um, Well, if you have any control of it, try not to get it. Don't unravel in the public eye because everybody has their opinion, and sometimes
Mhm.
they can be way too much to bear, right? But if it does, I think that's where you have to go back to the basic steps, which is, you know, communicating with your partner, staying, having you united front, of course, dealing with the issue at hand, but just make sure that it becomes a lot easier to go against the world when you have your partner at your beside. If you have to go against the world by yourself, it becomes a lot difficult to do so. So you want to make sure at the end of the day, people will say what they got to say. They will have their opinions about your relationship, whether it be family, friends, or even a total stranger. But it doesn't matter because it's all about how you are or how do you feel within your marriage or relationship that you're a part of between you and your partner. So just make sure that you keep it just between you and your partner rather than inviting the world into your relationship.
So you think privacy is key?
Almost definitely, as much as possible, if you can help it, of course.
Yeah, that's part when if you can help it.
Hmm.
Um, there are a lot of people who go to therapy together with their significant other,
Yes.
and they allow it to be kind of that to be played out in the public eye. How healthy is it to have your therapy sessions with your significant other on camera because of the role that you're playing?
Well, like anything in life, there's pros and cons and everything. I'll start with the pros. So the pro would be just to allow people to see that even celebrities are getting the help that they need within themselves as well as in the relationship. So driving more people to seek help, I think that's always a good thing.
Mhm.
However, driving more people into your own therapeutic sessions can have, like I said, you have more eyes on you. Things that will be highlighted, your issues, your flaws, and where your partner may be more willing to accept them, but now the media, total strangers, your fan base may not be willing to accept it, and you'll be not haunted, but they'll throw those things constantly in your face. And sometimes people can handle it, other times many people cannot. So you want to make sure you're not putting yourself in a predicament where it could really hurt your relationship as well as hurt you as an individual.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I agree. I always say, you know, save some things for your private life.
Yes.
I mean, you don't have to tell everybody everything. Everyone doesn't have to know all the specifics and the intricate details of your day-to-day life with your significant other, because then when it plays out, and it's okay to allow people to know you. It's okay for your fans or your audience to feel like they're bonding with you and feel
Mhm.
close to you. But it's very important that you have some things that you keep for yourself. There's so much of your life, your private life, from your career and how you work that you share with everyone. But the beauty is to have some things that are special and for yourself and on your own, right?
Mhm.
And when you are dating, one thing I've noticed, like you said, if you can keep it
Yeah,
private,
right.
if you can if you can keep it private,
Yes.
I say allow the early stages of dating, right? Being intentional about who you date, being intentional with integrity, about the bond and the relationship that you're building. Do as much of that in private as you can, because once the world gets hold of it and other people start to know about it, people start making assumptions and having opinions and making comments and just all that other stuff, and that can sometimes affect your relationship. It shouldn't, but the reality of it
Yeah.
is is that it does,
Like the Will and Jada situation, right?
oh my goodness. Very, very much so. Very
Right.
much so. I'm going to say this. I feel like when you are telling a lot
Hmm.
about your relationship, right? Really, and to the world and to the media, really take into consideration, right,
Okay.
of the other person that you're speaking of, and take into account how that is going to affect them. What I say about my significant other in the world may affect that other person in a negative way and have a negative impact. And if I truly love someone,
Hmm.
that is never going to be my intent. So the wise thing is not to ever emasculate my me, to never emasculate my man ever, and especially in front of a crowd or in front
Millions
of
of people.
a world full of people. Absolutely not. If this is no longer healthy for me, if this is no longer working for me, then it is something that, we talk about. If I decide to share, then it needs to be in agreement to what he is also willing to have known about us, because I'm not in this relationship for myself, and me talking about the relationship that I'm in, I always try to keep the other person in mind, right?
Hmm.
I just that's just me. Um, if I
But
didn't have a positive sex life with my man, I definitely won't be talking about it on television. Not not for the media to see, because once you put things out there, it's out there. And a lot of people, once they see it, they can't unsee it. And once they hear it, they can't unhear it.
I'm only gonna make the assumption.
Hmm.
I have no idea, but
Okay.
if she did have that conversation with Will before she made that statement, I would have hoped and assumed that she got the approval from her husband that it's all right for her to share how she felt about the sex life.
That is,
Because you
I'm
have
gonna tell the whole world. I just want you to know. I hope you're okay with. I'm tell the whole world that the sex is trash. What?
every marriage is different.
Why?
Oh boy, whatever works for them, right?
Whatever works for them.
Yeah.
And that, like I said, that goes for everybody's relationship.
Mhm.
I keep my stuff private as much as possible, to the best of my. I try to be super secretive um, about my personal life, and I'm very fastidious about the information that I choose to share. Um,
Nowadays, I think more celebrities are taking that route, right? Where you don't know who they're dating. Yeah, actually, for some people, you don't even know that they're pregnant until later in the stages of pregnancy. So they keep,
right?
so they're really highlighting the privacy amongst their life and everything else that it entails, whether it be their family, their kids, their relationship, their pregnancy, and everything else. So you start to see that more often now, more than ever.
Which I think is good, because I think a lot of times people don't realize it, but they're not completely mentally and emotionally stable enough to handle a level of criticism that they aren't expecting to come by oversharing.
Hmm.
And sometimes people's feedback and their opinions and their critiques are hard. That's why you see so many people on social media crying, saying, leave me alone, or you guys are so mean, or all of these things. And it's kind of like, number one, yes, you're a celebrity, right? So things come with that. You're an athlete. You're a public figure. You're in the public eye.
Hmm.
Negativity, criticism, feedback, all of that is expected to come. But the amount of it is based on the specifics of which you're sharing, right? And I think it's so important. This is why I say it's really important to have a therapist, to be working on your mental health while you're in the entertainment field, while you're a public figure, and even before you get there, right? Because you need to be so strong in who you are and self-validated so much within yourself, right? That though another person's negative words or harsh, cruel, because people can be cruel, their harsh, cruel judgment, right? It may hurt your feelings, it may sting like a little pinprick, but it does not break you. Do you understand? It does not make you fall apart. It does not make you question who you are, your worth, your value, right? I know who the hell I am. I know what I bring. There's been enough confirmed evidence, right? There's been enough confirmed feedback from myself, from my circle, and from all of the positive people that I have impacted, right? That one or two or 10 or 20 or 100, that does not make me feel less than. You may not like me, and that's okay. You are not my audience. You are not my person. I am not for you. Do you understand what I'm saying? I know who I'm for. And I validate myself every day before I walk out the door. Right?
It's not easy being a public guy, and I think many people don't realize that. They see everything that someone has. They must have they have the great life. But to be scrutinized for any little thing that you do, to make sure that you're always performing at the highest level in everything in the field that you're in, it's not easy. It's a skill to be able to handle the media, handle your audience, and handle negative feedback that you may, not may, but you will encounter, because not everybody's gonna love you, not everybody's gonna like
Mhm.
your work. You're gonna have
Mhm.
haters, you're gonna have people criticizing you, and you have to be able to be strong enough, or in your words, to be whole. So when people attack you, they won't break you.
It's the breaking,
Yeah.
right? It's the breaking, and that's where, the self-validation,
Yes.
right?
Hmm.
And self-worth plays a part. It's the knowing yourself, it's being solid and knowing who you are. I'm confirmed in my values. I'm confirmed. And every day I wake up, I know that I move in my values, right? And I'm confirmed in that. And so other people who have things to say, because it's going to come, and you can expect it, right? But
Hmm.
knowing who you are is important. Having that circle of support is important. Making sure that you are focusing on your mental and emotional health by getting a therapist is important, because you're also going to face rejection, right? And and that really is that's all that you can do.
And
But
pray.
and pray. You know what I mean? And like spend some time, center yourself, meditate, and sometimes for your mental health, take a break. Turn social media off. Turn the TV off. Don't read the comments. Don't read, like be in the world, right? Don't just be on social media. Live in the world. Go on vacation. Spend some time with family. Spend some time with your friends. Enjoy this thing called life, because it's an experience, and you have more control and more power over your experience and how you experience your life than what you think, right?
Unfortunately, we're in a time where people just can't live without social media, right? I think that nowadays that people can't live without their phones. That has access to all these social media platforms and networks. Where if you take a few hours away from your phone, you get anxiety, right? You get very
Yeah.
anxious that you're not checking in what's going on in the world, what's going on in your profile. So with celebrities, that's like times 100, right? Because a lot of people are constantly checking in to see what they're doing, how they're doing, replicate that, and they follow up with that. And it's a lot for them to always constantly to perform at that level on a day-to-day basis. So it's the new way of doing things. I think that it's not easy for it may look easy, but it's definitely not. But it becomes a lot easier when you're mentally stable. It becomes easier when you're getting help when you're struggling. So for all of them who are going out there struggling, please, 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 I can't stress that enough. Get the help, please.
Yeah. Get the help that you need, get the help that you deserve, and really, really take some time to sit and self-assess. What is it that I value? What is my
Mm,
identity? Who am I? How am I experiencing, you know, the world, right? And really focus on that, because everything outside of that is going to happen. You can control yourself,
yeah.
but being solid in who you are, being solid in your worth, and practicing self-care and putting up your healthy boundaries, right? Me working, I was just recently working with one of the coaches, and I said, make sure that every day that you go out and what you pour into that team, it's the values that you guys stand on, it's the principles that you guys stand on, right? And no matter what, right? They're always valuable in your eyes. And pouring into them, then they pour themselves out into the game, you know? So
A lot of people tend to lose their identity throughout this whole process because
mhm.
their identity is based on how people perceive them. I think I saw a podcast with Ocho Cinco. He talks about how he felt like he had to wear gold chains.
Mm.
Because he felt like he had to wear a gold chain. So he started doing it, and by the way, they're very expensive. He started buying fake gold chain just to play the image. Because everybody expected him to be this type of person because he was an athlete to have the bling, the gold, and everything else. and really, he didn't like it, but he had to fit the image. So
Right.
realizing that your role as a person, your identity is attached to the social community that you're part of. Sometimes people lose themselves within all of that.
Yeah.
It's hard for them to find them once they get lost too.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I agree. Know who you are, know values, self-identity,
Yes.
imperative,
Love you.
mental health. Um, that's important. All right, everybody, that's the show for today. Thank you so much for tuning in and talking about the importance of mental and emotional health and relationships and entertainment.
Yes.
How can people find you if they are looking to reach you or get some mental health services?
Sure. You could look me up on Google. Just put Dr. Jeff Rocker, or go on my website, Ask Jeff Rocker, or even on Instagram, Ask Jeff, ASK Jeff.
All right, everybody. So remember that life matters, and make sure you take care of your mental health. Bye, everybody.
Take care.